Hush-a-bye, my baby, slumber time is coming soon. Rest your head upon my breast while mama hums a tune. The Sandman is calling, where shadows are falling, while the soft breezes sigh as the days long gone by. Oh, way down in Missouri, where I heard this melody, when I was a little baby upon my mama's knee. The old folks were humming, their banjos were strumming, so sweet and low. Hear that mournful melody, it haunts you all day long, and you wander in your dreams back to heaven, it seems, when you hear that old time song humming all day long, and the old folks are playing that same evening song. Oh, hush-a-bye, my baby, gonna sleep on baby's knee. Journey back to these old hills and dreams again with me. It seems like your mama was there once again, and the old folks were strumming that same old refrain. Oh, way down in Missouri, where I learned this lullaby, when the stars were blinking and the moon was climbing high. Seems I hear voices low as in days long ago, singing hush-a-bye.
Oh boy, I do love that song. And as per usual, we experienced some technical difficulties. Kim, we need one of those screens to put up on here that from
And there we are.
broadcast TV.
Yes.
It says we're experiencing technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties, please stand by.
Because well, as you can see, we're not in our normal abode.
No, this is the new digs.
This is the new digs, and if I remember right, I think we started back in the spring when we started this season of Real Estate Geeks, which has taken all of an entire 8 months to take 6 episodes.
Good things come to those who wait.
Who perpetually wait. We said we would be in the new and improved Real Estate Geeks studio in July?
I believe that was the plan, yes.
It's not July.
No, but it is sunny outside.
So I do want to mention this. This is my favorite thing, and we'll talk about where we're at here shortly. But like my favorite new thing is that we have a window.
We do have a window. It's much brighter.
And as you can see out the window, it's very bright, but you can probably tell there's no leaves on the trees. And so we did not make our July summer launch for the new studio.
No, the sunshine right now is the only similarity.
Well, yeah, that's the only
between now and July.
And that's okay. We talk about it a lot on the show. Construction projects take a long time, and there's delays, and other things come up, and things go on, and then here you are 6 months later. You're just now moving in to what will be we hope, the perpetual home of the Real Estate Geeks and a lot of other podcasts and videos and live streams
There's gonna be a lot of fun stuff coming out of here.
Yeah. So, well, let's get a little more specific. Let's talk about the venue. Since we're here and we want everybody to kind of know, what's going on, what we're doing.
Sure.
We are at our facility that you and I own called Fort Creek. This is it's a private shooting range and training facility. And this is where we do all of our training. We have a classroom out here. This is essentially, where we're at is essentially the office where we kind of run the other myriad non-real estate businesses that we tend to get involved in. As I've said before, real estate's our main business. That's what we do.
Yes.
That's how we earn a living, and we absolutely love it. And we've been talking about this whole year on the Real Estate Geeks about how tough the real estate market is.
This is the year that tests your love to
this is the year that you decide if you're going to do it. If you're going to stick this out, you're getting divorced.
That's kind of it.
Either the relationship is till death do you part, or it's over. And we're still here. We're not going anywhere. We're still running our team. We're still selling a lot of real estate. Everybody's volume is down. It's just a tough market.
Everyone's in kind of the same boat on that deal.
Yeah. What I really love about today, though, is what our plan is for today is we're going to talk a lot. We're going to finish up the conversation about the lawsuit.
Yes.
And that's been the main topic all season. We're gonna finish up that topic, and we're probably not ever going to talk about it again.
No suspenseful cliffhanger. This will be.
This is the end. Now, that's not to say that there won't be another lawsuit, and we'll talk about that one. But this one we're gonna finish up today, and that's gonna be a quick. Here's the outcome, because it is over. It's done. And then we're going to move on to the things that we're going to talk more about when we get into season 6, which will be later. We'll take a break over the winter, and spring of 2025, we'll come back with probably a more normalized schedule as we did before. This year was weird just because we timed all the episodes around major events in the lawsuit. And so this episode where we're going to finish that conversation up is happening now because the settlement was just approved by a federal judge. And what we're going to talk about is it was approved despite the Department of Justice objecting to it. So, and so Thorpe Creek out here, a lot of events have happened this fall.
Yes.
And we're gonna post this video. We don't usually tend to mix kind of what we do, but we are going to post this video on our Thorpe Creek Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, because we kind of want our Thorpe Creek folks to get an idea of what's going on here and the things that are happening. And we'll probably post some of these videos there after we do our normal kind of re-editing thing. So the facility is now complete. By the way, we have a guest speaker today, this fly. How this fly is here in December, I don't know. But hey, good on you, man.
Getting us camera time.
Yeah. So in its short 24-hour life, it just really wanted to be on our show. And so how can we deny him that great honor, right? So some things that happened over the fall. We finished this facility so we could move in here and do our show in a very comfortable setting, and kind of have our own space here that just lets us focus on the show. Because look, when we're at the office in Branson at Reese Nichols, our phenomenal brokerage, we're in the real estate mindset. We're thinking more about what's going on with our business. That's one of the reasons I love that we've done this space and we've built it out so that we can come out here and do this show and focus on the information we want to deliver to everybody that's watching. So
Sure.
All 7 of you,
maybe 8.
But hopefully there'll be more in the future.
Tens of viewers. Well, we started out in the rolling realtor mobile.
We started out, and we need to talk a little bit about that, but I'm not going to give a spoiler.
Yeah, hang on with that one.
Yeah, we'll do a video about that later. But the rolling realtor mobile, which essentially was it was a company vehicle that we used when we share property or listed property so that we don't racking up miles on our personal vehicles. It has moved on. It was getting a little long in the tooth, and it maybe wasn't fitting into the kind of business we're doing now. But
it served its purpose, and it fit very well when it was.
Absolutely.
When it was in park.
Yeah. What was your favorite thing about the Rolling Realtor Mobile? I kind of miss the Rolling Realtor Mobile, to be honest.
I liked the space.
It was a Ford Transit van.
Mm-hmm.
And let me just tell you, folks, if you're in the market for something that will carry a lot of people or a lot of stuff and do it comfortably, a Ford Transit van is your go-to. It is not.
It might not be the first thing you think when you're like sexy, sporty.
Yeah,
however,
you're not going to get on the cover of Hot Rod magazine in the old Ford Transit van. But that thing was reliable.
I was going to say, it was reliable. It did great.
Awesome gas mileage.
Yes. Despite what you see on TV, if you don't live in a big city, like we do not, you put some miles from county to county.
Oh man,
show property.
Yeah, we were racking up 20,000 miles a year on that thing.
Oh yeah,
and you got to remember, like we would drive to the office in our vehicles, park.
Yeah, that's real estate mileage.
Yeah, and then we would load into the van to go all over and do everything. And boy, howdy, did we! Wow. And so my favorite thing, what I miss about that van, oddly enough, was it was like sitting in a Barca Lounger driving that thing.
Yeah, it was comfortable to drive.
It was very comfortable to drive. And so I'm not going to tell you all what we replaced it with.
What I don't miss is that front spoiler, because it was not as off-road friendly as maybe the rest of the van.
No, it's set like a car, even though it was a van. And maybe that's the point of a van, but it's set pretty low. But it was easy to get in and out of. And I'm not going to tell you all, we have replaced it. I'm not going to tell you what we got. I'm just going to tell you it is as far on the other end of the spectrum from the Ford Transit van as we could go. But we will. So over the winter, we always do a winter special, right, Ken, every year. We do a winter special, and the winter special this year will be the reveal of the new Realtor Mobile. And we'll probably do a show. So
there is a suspenseful cliffhanger from this show. It's just not where people thought it was going to be.
You know what? I think here's what it is. It is a preview of what is to come.
There you go.
It's a preview of what. So that'll be a special. That special will hit somewhere between season 5 when we actually start season 6. So that being said. That's where we're at. We're out here at Thorpe Creek, and this is where we're going to be primarily doing the show.
It's a great place to work. It's also kind of a great place just to
we come out here. We come out here and work. Both of us pretty frequently because it's quiet. It's a shooting range, but the building's very well insulated. Which I'll also mention. So shameless plug. We do still have some memberships available at Thorpe Creek.
There you go.
So if anybody is interested if you're interested in shooting sports, you just want a great place to come out and participate and practice, whether for self-defense reasons or your own just personal recreation, go to thorpecreek.com and look it up.
We've got a great group of folks here.
Our members are awesome.
We've got a great group. We're always doing something fun. So it's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah. And we have a coffee pot.
There is coffee. That's true.
Boy, that's good. Leading into that, that's so one of the things I'm going to do out here next year that I've been wanting to get kind of on is on the Thorpe Creek Facebook and Instagrams and all that. I'm gonna be coming out here, and I love making cowboy coffee. You ever made cowboy coffee over the fire?
I have not.
We got a big fire pit out here, And I'm going to come out and do this winter, and I want to do a whole series on all my favorite coffees. But it's most of the time everybody goes and builds a fire makes coffee anymore. And so I'm going to go out and take all my favorite coffees that I usually put in the trusty Bund drip coffee machine, and I'm going
see how they fare.
I'm going to make them over the open fire as cowboy coffee and see if they're as good. And so that's going to be kind of my fun, and I'll do a little bit of coffee review.
My fire pit is kind of reserved for hot dogs, brats, s'mores, maybe hamburger.
Well, I mean, that's what you should come out here and do. That you should go come out here and make sausage. And
today's episode, I'm going to eat 3 hot dogs.
I have not seen that
ratings may slump.
I have not seen that particular kind of critique on the YouTubes. So I think you might have a niche there.
We'll see.
Yeah, Ken tries sausage. I'm already sold. I'll watch that show.
Title needs work.
Look, hey, it's your channel, it's your show. You do you, man. You can title it whatever you want. So. But we have a lot of stuff like that's going to go on out here, and you can find all the real estate news you never knew you needed.
Absolutely.
At Real Estate Geeks Live. If you're interested in what's going on out here at Fort Creek, it's at Fort Creek. And all of that same handle works on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. You can find us on any of those same handles. So without further ado, I am Brad Gore, Realtor with the Real Pro team at Reese Nichols.
And I'm Ken Bowman, Realtor with the Real Pro team at Reese Nichols.
Way to go, unique.
We are ready for a action-packed, fun-filled, potentially suspenseful show.
Look, if you need to take a nap, now's the time. Because we're going to talk about real estate. And
there are people watching. They're interested in real estate. They want to know what's going on with
6 of them,
Department of Justice lawsuit,
to be exact,
and how apparently.
So, look, I say that, but here's the deal. So we tape the show for about an hour or so, and most people wait until because we post short snippets of it, and so we break it down into 3 to 5 minute topic-based short videos, and that's why I say go to our YouTube channel at Thorpe Creek and subscribe to it. And then you can pick and choose. If you don't care what's going on with the DOJ website, you're more interested when we're going to talk about interest rates. So which one's more exciting to you?
There you go.
The lawsuit or interest rates? Pick, and you'll be able to find a short video about it on YouTube. You can scroll through those on our Facebook Reels. Also, YouTube's the best place though. Go to YouTube at Real Estate Geeks.
I'm guilty.
At the Real Estate Geeks. I need to say this correctly. At Real Estate Geeks Live. Look, it's on the screen. It's right here. It's scrolling. Go to YouTube, subscribe to it, and then you can find something that you're interested in.
I'm guilty of the short videos. I love, everybody's got those handful of people they watch or topics they're interested in. And that's the one thing that I really enjoy is the little 3 to 5 minute videos that pop up. Just kind of stay involved.
Yeah, and we do some shorts and some reels on, just some real specific topics. And so those are all there. You can watch them. Or you don't have to watch them. It is a free country. Last I checked.
This is true.
Yeah. So I want to wrap this lawsuit.
Just jump right into the lawsuit.
I'm done with it.
Oh no, you're not. This lawsuit is.
Oh my God.
In one frame or another, will live on.
So, it is going to go on forever, isn't it?
Well,
you think we'll ever be out of it? I don't know. Well, the thing is we weren't in it for 50 years, and then all of a sudden we were in it, and now it seems like it's never going to end because there's more lawsuits out there now. So now we finished up this one. We'll talk about that. I keep saying maybe we should just talk about this now. I keep saying that, and then we move on to another thing because it's avoidance is what it is. It's avoidance. I'm avoiding it. So the last episode, you can go back and watch some of the stuff from episode 5. But basically, a settlement was proposed that the end result was simply that in MLS listing systems, commissions would no longer be displayed. So now no one openly knows what sellers are willing to pay a buyer's agent who brings the buyer. That is where we're at now. And that has all happened. It's all taken place. It's all been removed. So when homes are listed for sale, there's no disclosure of commission.
Right.
I'm going to let you, the viewer, figure out and do some research on that, decide whether or not that's good or bad. But before the lawsuit, all the commissions were fully disclosed. They were open and people could see them.
And there was some confusion about commission and where the money was going and things of that nature, which through this lawsuit, they believe they have helped clarify.
Yeah. But I disagree. I think all they've done is made it more difficult for consumers to get the information that consumers should just be able to see. Like I really, my opinion is should go the totally opposite direction. It should be everyone's buyer's seller's commission fully negotiated, ready to go. What the seller's willing to pay, what the buyer's willing to pay, all this stuff should be up front. It is not as clear before as it is now. And I disagree with the direction that this went. But you know what? Here's the great thing about it. I was not asked to give any input whatsoever. So you know, I just have to abide by the rules that were given to me, whether I agree with them or not.
That's where we all are at this point in time.
Yeah. So that was the major outcome. What the Department of Justice has challenged is the provision in the settlement that requires buyers and their buyers' agents to enter into a written agreement prior to tearing out. So that is a requirement now, by the way. So all you home buyers out there, it is now a mandate at the highest levels.
Yes.
That realtors, members of the National Association of Realtors, have a written agreement with a buyer before we show you a home.
Absolutely. And
so I'm not going to get into what those written agreements look like because it's different everywhere. But essentially, basically in the state of Missouri, the agreement that we have is called buyer's agency, and it creates a buyer's agency an agency agreement between the buyer and the agent that they're hiring.
Yes.
So that was what the Department of Justice was challenging. Those agreements have always existed, but we didn't typically use them until an agency relationship needed to be created. And that could be at any step during a transaction if you're doing things right.
Yes.
So now we have to have that at the very, very beginning because it does spell out who's paying what in terms of commission. And we've already hashed over this in previous episodes. So you can go back and watch some of those and kind of figure that out. But that was the Department of Justice. That was their main. They don't like that. And so the judge in this case disagreed and approved the settlement. So it's done. That was November 26th.
True. And now all talks, commissions, and all the things they wanted enacted have been enacted. And now comes phase 2, which is the question of said written buyer agreements, and are they?
Well, we've been using those since, I think Reese Nichols basically just said, like, it was June, July. before actually the settlement had already actually like gone into force, which was in August.
Oh yeah, recently got out in front.
Yeah, and they said no, we're using them now. If you work with buyers, you have to have an agreement. That's a broker requirement. And here's the deal. I'm just going to tell you, that was August. It's December. We've sold a lot of property since then, and essentially nothing has changed.
I can't tell that it has.
Yeah.
I mean,
all of our seller clients, we lay all the options out before them.
you're still having the same conversations. You're still going through.
We lay all the options out before them, and whether or not we represent them or not, one thing I've noticed is that sellers are happy to pay a buyer's agent if they'll bring the buyer. I mean, they don't mind compensating them for that work, and that's the way it should be. If we work, we should be compensated. We talked in a previous episode a lot about why would anyone do work for free?
Yes.
If you showed up to your job tomorrow, wherever you work, and your boss just said, you're going to do all this work today, and maybe if I like your work, I'll make a decision later about whether or not you're going to get paid for it.
And how much?
And how much. No upfront. That's essentially every day we wake up and we have to interview for our job.
True.
Right? We have one of our agents that's going to today to list a house. Did the interview yesterday and was chosen to get the listing. And that's what we have to do. So today we got a listing that's going to go on the market. We're going to sell it, and everybody's going to be compensated. But we have to do that every day.
Right.
And some days I go and I say, hey, I'd love to work with you. I'd love to be your agent. And I don't get the job.
Well, I get everyone wants to save money. Everybody wants to keep most money in their pocket. All the different strategies involved. But you really do, number one, get what you pay for. And number two, think of the level of service that person's going to provide if they have no idea if, when, or how much money they may get paid. These are all conversations that need to be had up front. That way everybody knows.
And from a buyer's perspective, as we are the kind of agent that says, if you want to see that house, I'm going to show you that house, and we'll work together to figure out, the appropriate compensation. We essentially have that up front, but sometimes you have to be flexible and you have to be able to say, let's work together and figure this out, whether the seller's agreeing to pay something or not.
Right.
But if you're a buyer and you're working with an agent and you're told, hey, this seller is refusing to pay commission, so per our agreement, you'll have to bring 3% to the closing table, because that's what we charge. So whatever your agent is charging, I got to bring that to the table. As a buyer, you might say, I looked at that house and I don't mind the price, but it seems like I'm paying more than what I want to pay for the house, because I have to bring additional funds to the table in order to utilize the services of an agent.
Because that's the big number they're looking at. They're
Yeah.
looking at what the house is going to cost.
Yeah.
Now all these other fees start to.
Yeah. So it just nobody's going to work for free, and buyers aren't going to overpay for a house by whatever it is, 2.5, 3, 4. They're not going to do that, and so it's either you're going to have to depress the price to cover the cost of commission, which essentially means you're paying the commission anyway as a seller. So what's the difference?
Yeah.
Um,
I'm going to pay $3,500 in commissions, or I'm going to reduce the price of my house $3,500.
Yeah.
You're taking different roads to the same place.
Yeah. And but again, hey, we beat that horse to death.
One final shot. Well,
we did take one final shot. So the settlement's done. The judge approved it, and essentially the major change is, those sellers that are offering a cooperative agreement in place to compensate a buyer's agent if they bring their buyer to that seller's property and closes, is just no longer available in the MLS. I have to call the agents. I have to figure out who's paying what commission and make sure that my client understands who's paying what commission and what they would be responsible for. That's it.
Yes.
Right? I don't mind doing that.
No.
I don't mind it at all.
It
essentially didn't change.
I was going to say, it's not been the major change.
Yeah. So now, Ken, I have been very intent. I've been focused on this. Now I'm going to talk about some things that help me relax. And so, in my fancy office chair, I'm going to lean back, and we're going to talk about interest rates.
I was really concerned about that, but okay. Interest rates.
I love interest rates. It's so much fun. By the way, if you want to read mountains of information on interest rates, I highly recommend Wall Street. Subscribe to their everythings and visit their website frequently and get their emails because their analysis, bar none, in my opinion, is some of the best.
Well, this is, all jokes aside, this is a good article. It gets just deep enough to kind of make you think about a few things. So some people, this is going to be over their heads. Some people, it's going to be, oh, I know that. But it's a nice variety of what they're putting out here. And it's really good information.
Are you ready for a history lesson?
Going back, way back.
We're going to get in the Wayback Machine.
Let's go.
Let's get in the Wayback Machine and let's go way back to 1971.
Ha-ha.
It was a good year when it comes to talking about the history of mortgage rates.
Yes.
So the disturbing news that I have for folks that want to buy a house is
About to make people mad.
I'm about to make people real mad because I'm just going to tell you that if you're waiting around, right? If you're waiting around because you think interest rates are going to drop to where they were between about 2012 and 2021, early 2022ish.
Mm-hmm.
So that below 5% range, right? You're wanting to get below 5%. Or you think prices are going to drop, and so you'll just wait until prices drop to buy your house.
Well, you may get one or the other, but the chances of getting both are going to be very difficult.
Well, according to history, you're going to get neither. So let's talk about interest rates first. Yes, the Fed is cutting rates, but the Fed is not going to cut rates. They don't need to cut rates to where they were, which is essentially zero before. So with the Fed rate at zero, you would still probably have interest rates in general around 5%. That gets it down to around 5%. Oh no, Brad. I hear it. Oh no, Brad. They were zero in 2014, and interest rates were only 4.5%. Well, let's talk about why that was. It wasn't because the Fed rate was zero. In 2008, during the financial crisis, as it began, and leading up to it, say about 1999 to about 2010, interest rates hovered between 5.5% and 6.5% average. And they got down to that when the Fed rate was somewhere around 2.5%. So what pushed, after 2008, what pushed interest rates below that, down to 3.5%, 4.5%? Because the Fed brought their interest rate down to zero because of the financial crisis.
Right.
Well, if you want to know the answer to that, there's a great movie that you should watch.
Glenn Ross. Excuse me, wrong show.
Why do you have to bring up Glengarry every season? They're remaking it. Did you know that?
I have heard this.
It is the best movie about real estate.
I can't remember if we had done it this season or not, so I want to get it in there before the season was over.
I just want to go a season without having to talk about Glengarry again.
Not going to happen.
Okay. Too Big to Fail. Fantastic movie. And it just talks about the bank failures that occurred in 2008 during the initial beginning of the crisis. Several very large banks, Lehman Brothers, one of the biggest, were bankrupted. And so it talks about what they did, what they were trying to do to stem the losses and prevent a major recession, which they failed. They were not successful. What they were trying to do was open up credit markets so that people could get credit, banks could get credit, businesses could get credit to pay people.
Because that's how things keep going.
And it didn't work. But one of the things that they floated was part of TARP, which was a troubled asset relief program.
Wow, yeah.
And so in this movie, there is an entire section where they talk about we need to buy these assets. And they say it's going to take too long, it's going to take too long. And it did. It took too long. It was part of the plan over time. And what it led to was a program called quantitative easing. And really, that's just a big word for the Fed will buy mortgage-backed securities, which was the security that was tanking these banks.
Mm-hmm.
They will buy for cash, right? They're going to inject cash into these big banks by buying all these troubled assets and getting them off their books and putting them on the government's books.
Quantitative easing is designed to boost, get things going. So we buy all these assets. Now we own the assets. If the asset goes down in value, the government loses money, but the government is going to agree to absorb the losses. If they go up in value, though, the government makes money. Right? And that's what drove interest rates down. The only time in history interest rates have been below 5% since 1971 was when the Fed started buying mortgage-backed securities in 2009. It pushed mortgage rates, the average rate, below 5% for the first time on a 30-year fixed mortgage. And that's it. There's no other time in history when they've ever been below 5%. In fact, the period of time when they were above 5%, if you look at that average of all time, the average mortgage rate is over 7% average from 1971 forward. And there was a point in time between 1980 and 1983 that the average mortgage rate was over 18%. Which was also another major economic time. That was, and see, that's the thing. Look at what's causing these. They're major financial events. Major financial events
affect mortgage rates the most because if you look at the 50s and 60s, there were no major recessions. There were some economic slowdowns. But when we came out of World War II and we had the baby boom and the suburb boom and the building boom, and we're talking about a building boom that's never been matched. Interest rates were almost dead set at 6% for a mortgage. Now, the 30-year mortgage really didn't become common until the very, very late 60s and into like 70, 71. It became more standardized. Bigger and bigger banks got involved in buying mortgages. And that's what led us to the 30-year fixed mortgage being the standard because most people in the 50s and 60s were custom building. And when I say custom building, I mean they were hiring a builder and the builder had a floor plan. You'd pick one of the few floor plans that he would build in that suburb. He would build it. That's why you get all of these tract homes.
Right.
There was also a huge program at the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, funded in suburban areas outside of cities that allowed builders to borrow money at almost no interest, and they had really incredible payment terms, and they could just build lots and lots of houses and sell them to people.
Because they were trying to match supply and demand at that point in time.
Yep, supply. I mean, and it kept house prices reasonably affordable because most people were paying cash or very heavy cash. They weren't taking out very big mortgages, or they were using credit unions.
Right.
Yeah. So over time, that changed, and it did make mortgages far more affordable for people doing a 30-year mortgage. And we're even talking now about, to make it affordable, maybe end up with 40-year mortgages. But that's another show.
Yeah.
So historically, the point I'm getting at is this: is the interest rates. We had a great interest rate period of time where interest rates were fantastic when the Fed was injecting lots of money into the mortgage industry by buying mortgage-backed securities from really big banks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? Quantitative easing is over, and they're not buying those anymore.
So
And
our thumb was on the scale, and now we're trying to do things back in.
I think in our lifetime. Okay, so think about it. Was born before 71.
No.
And so before 71, quantitative easing didn't exist. In our lifetime to this day, quantitative easing didn't exist until 2010. So 15 years ago ish.
Yeah.
Okay. It took 15 years for quantitative easing really to dig us out of.
Like everything else. There's a building.
So it took 15 years to dig us out. And let's just say, quantitative easing didn't exist prior to this. It really didn't. And this type of quantitative easing and quantitative tightening, which we'll get to next, are concepts that have existed. They've been used, but not like this. Not to buy MBSs.
Right.
Not to buy toxic assets. So, in our lifetime, I don't think this will ever happen again. I can't imagine it. Because if you go back the 20 years before 1971, say to 1950, right? So let's just say you and I get real lucky and we got another 40 years in us.
Okay.
And we had 15 years of quantitative easing. If you add all that up, the odds that it happening again in our lifetime are basically zero in the next 40 years. That we'll ever go through a QE cycle where they're buying 6.9 trillion treasuries to drive those interest rates down. I don't think it'll ever happen again.
Not short of some other.
I mean, they would have to. I mean, major catastrophic disaster, probably far beyond.
Because, like you said, quantitative easing and tightening, thumb on the scale, thumb off scale. It's always been in play to try to help keep things in balance, but not to the major swings that we're seeing.
So, since the second half of 2022, the Fed has been engaged in quantitative tightening, which is the opposite.
Yes.
They're not buying any treasuries.
No,
they're not buying any securities. They're selling them. So they are shedding treasury secretaries and mortgage-backed securities to the tune of $2 trillion in 2022 alone. And so far to date, 6.9 trillion, including 500 billion in mortgage-backed securities, and the spread has widened over that period.
Yes.
Today, the spread, which is the difference between the Fed's interest rate and average mortgage rates, is 2.5%. It's going to widen bigger than that. It's going to be higher.
Well, so far, we saw the historic high. Well, we saw one in 2009, was 2.9.
Yep.
And then we saw one again around 2020, which, going back to what we said, and I'm taking this here from the CEO of Fannie Mae, consumers to understand that it's unlikely we will again see the low mortgage rates we had during the COVID-19 pandemic, when a unique combination of monetary and fiscal policy sent rates near all-time lows. So once again, tied to a major event.
Yeah. So here's what I'm gonna end this with. This is Wall Street's like kind of final word on it, and this is what we need to keep in mind when it comes to interest rates. The spread, which again is the difference between rate and mortgage rates,
Keep on your 10-year treasury there.
could remain around the 2.5 percentage point range because the Fed no longer supports the mortgage market as it has done during QE. So how is the Fed supporting the mortgage market? They were feeding money into the mortgage market by buying mortgage-backed securities.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those mortgages are bundled together in those securities, and the investors and the banks that are making those loans are selling those loans essentially to the federal government and getting cash in return that they can then lend out, continue lending out for more mortgages. They're not doing that anymore.
No.
There's no basically free, zero interest. Remember, that money's going to them zero interest, no interest. Basically free money to those banks to loan out, and the banks are making fees and some points off of it every time they do a mortgage. That's done. So they got to use their own money, or they got to borrow money from other big banks, and those big banks are not giving it away for free. There's got to be a differential between that, so that they're not going to give you the money for free. They got to make some money. So it's doing the opposite. It's letting its holdings of MBS, mortgage-backed securities, run off at the pace of the pass-through principal payments. So this is the people who are paying their mortgages. There are servicers out there that are collecting those funds and passing that through on those securities to the owner of the security, which in this case is the federal government. They are letting that run off. And the Fed said repeatedly that it would let the entirety of its balance sheet, they want all the MBS to run entirely off its balance sheet, even after quantitative tightening ends. And they're going to replace those mortgage-backed securities with treasury securities.
If you keep reading, you're going to upset people.
I know, likely with T-bills, and here's where it's going to hit.
Here's the thing.
Which would take years, and it would keep the spread wider, all of which will put upward pressure on mortgage rates.
Upward pressure on mortgage rates.
Upward pressure on mortgage rates. But guess what? Perfect storm for us out here in the real estate world is that we have, our inventory is really low nationwide.
Still true.
It's coming up, but people are realizing that prices are not going down. They're not going up as fast as they were, but they're still going up. And I hate to tell you this, folks, the interest rates, this is it.
Well, and you're starting to see some mortgage, when they're tracking applications, you're starting to see a number of apps creep up as well, because people are getting to the point of, is this what I should buy? How cheap is this house going to be? Is now the cheap time? Is it going to get cheaper in the future? These numbers would lead me to believe that you're going to pay more in interest or price, potentially both.
Absolutely. I agree. I think that's how it's going to happen. And
we have an interesting strobe light going on.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, technical difficulties, it happens. So we're stuck with this. And the longer you wait to buy a home, the higher the price is going to be. So say I'm going to wait a year and the price goes up 20 grand and now you're financing an extra 20 grand. Mm-hmm. Maybe you save a half a point, because I do think the Fed's going to come down a little bit. I think we're going to see 6-point-something interest rates.
Right.
There's a slim chance we may get to the 5-ish, like 5.8, 5.9 on a 30-year, but it's a really small chance. I think it's more likely we're going to land somewhere between 6.25 and 6.75 as an average rate.
I'm with you, being in the sixes and seeing goes, but at the same point in time, you buy a house, you're paying X amount for it. Once you have bought it, that's the price you paid for it. For your interest rate, you can't.
So I like what you said there. Once you buy it, the price stops going up. What starts going up is your equity.
Right.
So the value of the home continues to increase. but you're earning and keeping the equity. And so when you go, because if it's not for sale, it doesn't have a price on it. I can't tell you what the price is. Right? I don't know, because it's not for sale. Until somebody decides I'm going to sell my home, it has a value. What you're tracking there is the value of your equity. And the more payments you make, so at the same time you're paying down the mortgage, the price of the house is going up.
Exactly.
And so when you own that property, you're earning money in both directions. You're building equity in both directions. The price going up and you're paying down the mortgage.
True.
So,
and if you refinance, I know some people look at it as like, well, it's just shuffling. Well, yeah, but there's a benefit to it.
There's a benefit.
Because you can't control that price once you bought it. But you do have a second bite, so to speak, at that interest rate.
And if the interest rates come down, you buy a 6.5 and they come down to 5, absolutely refi.
Absolutely.
If the interest rates come down and you can afford higher payments, refi to a shorter mortgage.
Right.
My wife and I did this several years ago. Mortgage rates got lower than what and forget that when we bought our home, forget what the interest rate was, it doesn't matter. Because what we did is there came a point when the interest rates had dropped about 1.5 from where we bought it at, which allowed us to refi, keep the same payment, but refi from what we originally purchased on a 30-year mortgage down to a 10-year mortgage. Payment stayed the same, but the interest rate dropped enough that with the same payment, we could pay it off. We could pay that house off in 10 years. And now by the time my wife retires, we'll have a paid off home.
There you go.
Right? And so, or that could go the other direction. If your income goes up over several years and the interest rates come down a little bit, refi to a shorter mortgage. Maybe you love your home, you don't want to leave, you just want to pay it off sooner or you want to pay less interest. Increase the payment when you do the refi down to a 15 or a 10-year because the interest rates on those are much lower, right? And so the savings in interest means more is going towards the principal that you still owe while your home is still increasing in value. You know, and everybody says, oh, it happened in 08, it'll happen again. Prices didn't really go down in 08 and 09. What you ended up buying was you were buying the homes that were foreclosed on.
Right.
At prices the banks would accept. But homes that nobody was selling a house.
Pricing had an artificial aspect to it then.
Yeah, like in the same way it did. We talked about how the market was artificial during COVID. And I still stand by that. Those increases that we got they didn't have anything in foundation. They were increasing because something was happening economically. They were increasing because there was demand and no supply.
Right.
Right? They were increasing because in the investment world, realtors, mortgages, investment professionals were telling people, get in now while the interest rates are low, because what's happening during COVID is going to lead to an increase in interest rates in the future. We knew inflation was coming.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
we counseled people appropriately. And so demand skyrocketed, but there wasn't inventory. And so prices went up. It's artificial. It wasn't based on anything. You know, there was no foundation.
Once again, a major economic event caused a change.
Yes. And so it was the same thing in 08. Prices were depressed for a little bit, but once that inventory sold out, which took very little time, prices kind of were flat and then they started going up. And again, we had a normal market for 10 good years, 2012 to 2022-ish.
I think that's what people need to get
2011 and 2021-ish.
Need to get used to, because we've seen these swings in the market that really may look good one way or the other, but the most beneficial is a balanced market where a seller is getting a fair price and the buyer can afford to buy.
Yeah. So I'm going to wrap this up with You know how much
There's a big shock. You have a Wall Street Journal, don't you?
You know how much I love the Wall Street Journal's reporting. And here's what I want to wrap this up with. I'm not going to talk about these stories in general, but I just want to talk about some of the stories that have hit. So I'm going to go a little bit in order here. But October 24th, fantastic story. Falling home sales are on track for their worst year since 1995. So 2024, worst year for selling real estate since 1995. Wall Street Journal.
So it's a 20-year block
Just
time.
4 days later,
Housing
housing turnaround was short-lived. Now, wait a minute, Wall Street Journal. We just read a story about how it's the worst market since 1995, 4 days ago. So housing turnaround where was the housing turnaround? In that 4 days, we had a housing turnaround.
It was a whirlwind.
Now, if you read the stories, you figure out what they're talking about. Goes back a little further, but it made me laugh that in this 4 day period, first it's the worst market in the world. Now the housing market turned around, but it was short lived. It's all falling apart. We had a turnaround. How do you have a turnaround in 4 days? And my favorite,
Quantitative easing.
it was quantitative easing. My favorite story lately came out December 10th. This is just recent. And I love a good chart, man, especially an interest rate chart. You throw me an interest rate chart, I'm a happy camper. And this is talking about treasury yields, the 10-year treasury yield, which mortgage rates typically follow the 10-year treasury yield the closest.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what the yield is right now. Do you have your phone out? Look up the 10X for me. Let's just see what it is.
Let's see here.
But what I love is that this story says election and its aftermath driving large swings in yields on Treasury. And boy, they're not kidding. We have been as low as 3.73 in the last 30 days and as high as 4.498. And that really shouldn't be happening. It really shouldn't. So where are we at today, Ken?
All right.
This is whatever, December 17th. December 17th at 11:30 a.m. What is our 10-year Treasury yield?
4.395 is where it opened. Hit 4.4 as the high. 4.3 is low. We're sitting right now at 4.395.
4.395. So there you go. And the Fed rate is 5.25.
Mm-hmm.
And mortgage rates are 6.8, 6.9.
I saw a 6.6.
6.6. So we're still 2.5 points.
Interestingly,
Still 2.5 points.
3-month Treasury bill rate is 4.25 compared to 5.25 last year.
Yeah, 5. That was high last year. So here's where we're going to end it. We're going to end it with, if you're going to buy a house, if you're in the market, get it done.
Really? And that's not a sales pitch. That's the truth. Because you know what conditions are today. You don't know what they're going to be tomorrow.
Prices are going to keep going up.
I believe that.
Yeah, we're seeing here. You want to
even with inventory coming up.
Yeah, you want to buy a single level, single family 3-2 with 2-car garage. You're over $200 a square foot.
Yes.
That's everything. There's nothing out there less than that if you want to buy new construction.
Oh,
resale's a little lower, but not much. I mean, resale's still 175 to 195 for the most part.
Yeah, it's based on right now with availability. It's kind of like the conversation we had about used car versus new car. Not talking about depreciation, but looking at the buy-in.
Yeah.
You know, when you're that close to a new property where it's new roof, HVAC, all the new.
Yep.
It's just such a smart way to go, in my opinion.
Yeah, we're big fans of new construction, but the prices are high. So if you're looking to buy a house, do not, because prices are going to keep going up, and interest rates, you're not going to get 4.5, 3.5. In your lifetime, it will not happen again.
Not shy of major catastrophe. I think interest rates are going to continue to sit where they are, creep up a little bit.
I agree.
If you buy now, you may have the cheapest rate, and if there is something major that happens, you can always refi. But I still believe both of those factors are going to go up.
I agree wholeheartedly.
I'd like to tell you something different, but
yeah. So to wrap it up, let's talk a little bit about music.
Finish on a happy note.
Yeah. So we've this is actually some comments that we've gotten periodically.
Maybe not this note then.
We did the Cabin in the Woods, which was a ton of fun, and that was a great remodel that we did, and we had a great guitarist do House of Rising Sun.
Yes.
And Eric Burden and the Animals, one of my all-time favorites. I put Eric Burden up there with John Lennon. The man was a fantastic songwriter, but he didn't write House of the Rising Sun. It's House of the Rising Sun is in the public domain because we don't know who wrote it. There's never been any attribution. There's been theories, but there's never been any attribution. It was never copyrighted, and that's why you've seen a lot of bands redo it because it's a fantastic song.
But it was how many years it's been out?
Oh my gosh! But it was made fantastic by Eric Burden. His rendition of it, in my opinion, is the all-time best. I will say that Five Finger Punch, great metal band, rock band, heavy metal, does a fantastic rendition of it. It is emotionally moving. Our guy did a fantastic rendition of it. That's what we opened the show with. It's kind of been our MO the last couple of seasons. This season, we had the Missouri Waltz.
Yes.
Which is a lullaby, going on 100 years old.
Reminds you of a spring day. You can picture the flowers.
And it's kind of sad and somber, but it has a very, the story behind it and the song itself is extremely positive. But we chose it for this season because it's in the public domain, and we can have an artist redo it. Because trying to get some artist's song on our show is cost restrictive to say the least. And if you post it online, they take it out anyway because you don't have permission to use it. So I would love if anybody wants to put in the comments anywhere, YouTube, Facebook, whatever, we'll get it. A good song for next season.
I was going to yell in sevenfold, but apparently that's out of the budget.
I don't think we can afford them. So put the song out there. Let us know who the original artist was. If you don't know the original artist, put the song in there. If it's in the public domain, we'll have one of our artists redo it that we work with, and that'll be our opening for next season. The Missouri Waltz, I really liked it because this season was, it was kind of a somber season. We're going through this lawsuit. We don't know what's happening. But then now we've come out on the other side of it. We know everything that's happening. We've got all the information. And you listen to Missouri Waltz, it's like very like, oh, everything's okay. It's a lullaby.
The sun will rise again.
The sun, and that's one of the reasons that we chose it for the season because it kind of had that feel. So if you got something in mind, next season I think we're going to get back to
a little audience participation. I like this.
Oh, yeah, audience participation is good. Next season we're going to get back to kind of the format that you're used to in the past. The format when we had the radio show. We're going to do This Sold House. We're going to do the news. We're going to talk a little bit more about the local market here and kind of what's happening and things that are going on. So I don't know. I've got ideas on what would be a good song for that. But if you've got any ideas, let us know. Put it in the comments.
Yeah, let's hear what your thoughts are.
And if you want to buy real estate, go to findmybransonhome.com.
Absolutely.
Or give us a call at 417-243-0808. There's my shameless plug for
findmybransonhome.com
for the Real Pro team. And we'll see you next time, which will be our winter special. I hope to have that out maybe in February or March sometime.
It'll be winter then.
Yeah, winter special.
So that works.
Yeah, it's timely. And we're planning the next season for probably April, May, June. So
a lot of fun stuff. Will be exciting.
Yeah, it will be exciting. So we'll see you then.
We'll see you.